on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
Today, we are looking at 2022's Barbarian, directed by Zach Cregger.
Join us as we journey to 476 Barbary Street and learn all about the potential mother.
Come on, girl.
Let's scream.
Barbarian.
I love this movie. This movie's fun. I really like it. I liked it when we first watched it back in 2022. You had already seen it. Mm-hmm. And I remember you liked it, but you weren't that into it, but you really liked it on your second rewatch.
Yes.
Your first rewatch.
I will say that's typically how it goes with me.
Yeah.
I'm very critical. I like to be
but kind of when you know, you're able to appreciate the other details of everything.
Yeah. Also, once you... Because, you tend to go into a movie with your preconceived notion of what you think is going to happen.
Yes.
After you know exactly what happens, then you can just vibe.
That's how I feel with, pretty much anything. Especially, for me, any reality show, I always appreciate watching them after I know everything that happens. More like competitions.
Like Survivor or Drag Race.
Because then you kind of be like, okay, let me watch this person's journey and see if I get...
Yeah.
Feel if I really think they should have won. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I've seen this movie now, 3 times, 4 times. This shit is funny as fuck.
Oh,
this
it's such a fun movie.
So fun.
It's such a good, Justin Long's in it. He plays an asshole like he does in every horror movie he's in.
Yeah, his character, AJ, is fucking hilarious. I love the the final girl, Tess.
Yeah.
She's a great final girl.
Yes.
She's
so smart.
I think she's so well written. Yeah. And there's a lot of layers to her, and this movie also, not only is it really fun and campy, but it also does have a lot to say. I think there's some heavy themes in this movie.
Yeah.
Which you don't really get a lot of the times with a fun roller coaster campy ride.
Yeah.
But there's a point of view for sure. This was director Zach Cregger's writing and directorial debut. And I love it. I think that he knocked it out of the park.
I will say, when we get into the story, if you think a little too hard about it, it starts to not...
Yeah, I mean,
you're this doesn't really make too much sense. But
yeah,
for the most part, I think it's a really great movie.
Yeah, and the story, while there are some, logical things, it does not bother me at all. I mean, I think you can still enjoy this as long as you know, this is camp. We're not thinking too hard about this. Let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of mentality you should have going into this movie.
Yeah.
Because I think it was marketed as, really scary. It's so hard with the marketing. Because, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was going to be serious in tone.
And it's really
But
not.
it's camp. And once you, kind of embrace it... There's another movie called Malignant that we were just talking about earlier.
Yes.
That also was kind of marketed really spooky, really creepy, serious. But then that movie goes camp. So I think once you watch it the first time, accept the camp of it all, like you said, you can really go back and appreciate how fun and clever and
smart a lot of the movie is.
Yeah. It has a fun way that it's the story is presented, the kind of framing setup, it changes timelines a lot, and there's introductions to characters halfway through the movie where it's they're the main character we're following now. Yeah.
Or it switches tones.
Mm-hmm.
So at the drop of a dime.
But it's not in a jarring way.
No.
It's in a fun, this is refreshing
what the
kind
fuck
of way.
is going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it is very what the fuck too. I'd say overall, if you haven't seen Barbarian, first of all, do not spoil anything. You want to go into this movie with as clean slate as possible.
Yeah, it is it's kooky.
Because shit just kind of happens that are what the fuck. And
it's a kooky movie.
Want to enjoy the
fun,
surprise.
though. I really like it.
So give it a watch. And at this point, we are going to go ahead and hop into the storyline of Barbarian. And if you haven't seen it, pause this podcast, go give it a watch, and come back and get into the story with us. Are you ready to scream, girl?
Let's scream.
Let's scream. Okay. So, we open at our little yellow house, our Airbnb.
And it is storming.
Yes, it is. And we get this shot of our main character, Tess. She pulls up, and we hear this crazy, like...
women screaming, like, sound effect.
It's like this moaning and droning, and it's really
kind of building
creepy.
up and, like, getting super loud.
The camera passes through the rain into the, like, car that she's in.
Yeah, like, through the window.
The moment we're in the car with Tess, that screaming and wailing sound just kind of stops.
It's like dead silent. Mm-hmm. But I like it.
Right off the bat.
So you kind of get this like creepy vibe, and then like knowing what happens in the story, like that whole effect is like, oh
yeah, it's foreshadowing what's to come,
the horrors that are to come.
It's definitely dark, and it's definitely rainy, and she's got her lockbox code. She goes up and tries to enter it, but when she finally opens, the key is missing. She is like, are you fucking kidding me? And girl, I get it. I would be mad as fuck too. This is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Getting to the Airbnb late at night, it's raining, and the fucking key's gone.
Yep.
So she kind of starts to go back out to the car to get back on her phone, figure out what's going on. Suddenly, a light turns on inside the house. She goes up and rings the doorbell, and we meet Keith, a.k.a. Bill Skarsgård, who is the guy who played Pennywise. And guess what? He's hot in real life. You don't think so?
In that kind of weird looking way.
He's Swedish.
In that kind of weird Swedish looking way.
Nordic kind of, yeah. He does kind of look, he is kind of alien-y, and he's got that wandering eye.
He's got his eye on the prize.
And the other eye is on the crown.
You've got your eye on the prize. And your other eye on the crown.
Look, I think he's hot because you know what? He's really tall. And I like the tall.
Because he's tall, he's hot.
Yeah.
Height. Listen, tall equals handsome.
Tall honestly,
plus ugly equals handsome.
It can really sway your hotness, in my opinion, on my level of hot. And I kind of like his weird wandering eye.
I kind of like when somebody's short, like a little shorty, because it's like, oh, you're so short, I can put you in my pocket.
Not the Polly Pocket pussy.
Get in my pocket. Stay there. I'll keep you safe in my pocket.
Well, I think he's hot, honestly. But he does kind of have that, like, weird... There is, like, a weirdness to him, which I guess works for this character.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing is... Well, hold on. We'll get into it. So, like...
He's like, what the fuck? Hello?
Yeah. No, I'm renting our Airbnb right now. And she's all like, no, I'm supposed to rent it. And she shows him on the phone her, like, receipt of purchase or whatever.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, well, damn.
Double booked us, clearly.
I guess we got double booked. You can come inside and figure it out. And she very trepidatiously goes inside. Yeah. And that's when we get the title card, Barbarian. She kind of walks in, and it kind of fades to black. And we see Barbarian.
And it's a good, like, lead up. Because you kind of... I love this whole, like, setup. I love the whole, like... beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
Because right away kind of makes you like, okay, this is already weird.
Yeah, you're on edge. You're kind of the whole time being like, okay, when is this going to turn into a scary movie? Like, where's the scary?
Yeah.
Because you know some shit's about to go down, but it's unclear. She goes into the rental. It's kind of basic, but it's super cute, very clean on the inside, I thought. I would stay here, for sure. I would book this place.
Nice. There was also, I don't remember if you mentioned it, but when she was in the car, there's only a light on the porch of the house that she's staying at. She looks around and, like, every other house is dark.
No street lights, no nothing. No.
So she's kind of like, oh, this is... Which we'll get into that. But, like,
we
that's,
will.
like, a good, like... There's a lot of theming in this movie. And I really... This is something that kind of goes into one of the themes of this movie.
Yeah, so remember that. It's, like, kind of really badly lit. So you can't see the neighborhood. But the inside, yeah, it's cute. She asks to go to the bathroom, and she kind of looks around. She sees he's charging his electric toothbrush. So it looks like...
Normal.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
just
probably
crashing
just
here.
crashing here, and he rented it too. Okay, seems kind of legit. Even though he does jump scare her when she comes out of the bathroom. And he's all like, oh, here's proof of my rental for you to see. And she's like, okay, that also seems legit. He offers to let her just kind of stay here so she can look around for a hotel. And he's like, well, I don't know if you could tell since it was really dark when you showed up here, but this neighborhood is rough. Like, I don't think it's safe for you to go out there.
Yeah.
And this is the start of Keith being a very interesting character here because he's either a fucking creep
Psycho.
serial killer,
Or he's just a really nice
totally
guy.
nice guy. And he's very polite, and that plays into our theme, which this movie is about men and women. It is about how men don't really have to be super cautious like women do, and they kind of just barrel through life. They make messes, and the women are forced to just clean everything up, basically. And he tells her, like, yeah, just stay here and chill, which she's cautious about because she doesn't know this dude. You know, what if he's crazy? And the movie wants you to be very suspicious of Keith. Like, you see him kind of lingering in the background, just the way that it's shot and lit. He's looks kind of creepy. And again, what I was saying earlier, he's hot, but he has kind of a weirdness. Like, the actor, Bill Skarsgård, does, like you said, have that...
An awkwardness about him.
Yeah, like, he has got that real Swedish, Nordic structure to his face that is almost a little off-putting as well. So you're just like, I don't know. He could be Prince Charming. He could be a serial killer.
Yeah.
He also says her name is really pretty. He's like, oh, Tess, that's a super pretty name.
And now we know he's a liar because that's not. No, that's
Yeah,
not named
Tess is a really
but it's
basic
like, I want to
name.
be like, that's pretty. I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool name.
Everyone who listens to us named Tess, just
Sorry.
unsubscribe.
I'm sorry, Tess. And then he offers her some wine, and she says no thanks. But he insists on making her some tea. She then, like, calls a hotel, and she's like, do you have a room for tonight? And they're like, no, we're, like, fully booked. And then he's like, oh, I forgot, there's, like, this medical convention in town, so you're gonna be hard pressed to find anything. I'm also like, wow, in Detroit?
Yeah,
Medical
exactly.
convention
Yeah.
in Detroit? Okay.
Which, yeah, this takes place in Detroit, if we haven't mentioned before. The Detroitness does come into play in the story.
Yes.
So... and it's kind of sus. He's like, I'll let you sleep in the bedroom. You can just sleep in the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch because I'm so chivalrous kind of thing.
And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, seriously, no. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not going to allow you to sleep on the couch. And she's like, okay, but I have this thing about clean sheets.
Clean sheets, which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if these sheets have been cleaned.
He could have gooned on those sheets.
For all we
he
know.
could have been baiting and gooning 20 minutes
If it was
ago.
me, as soon as I got there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so, it's because it's like, gotta break it in.
Just broke in the Airbnb.
How y'all doing?
That post-nut clarity is hitting, and this place is really cute.
Ooh,
I didn't really look around first. I just needed to
I
rub
can
one out.
breathe now. That ride was terrible here.
So while they're waiting for... So they decide to wash the sheets. He's like, yeah, of course, we can stay up and I'll help you, like, show you where the laundry is. They're waiting for the sheets to dry. He continues to be super gentlemanly, and he again offers her the wine. He's like, so I made you that tea, but then you didn't drink it, which makes sense. You know, what if I put something in it and da-da-da-da-da? But I didn't open this wine bottle yet, and, you know, it's sealed and all, but here in front of you, in case you just wanted a glass of wine. Because he's an awkward guy.
And he's like, he realizes it's really uncomfortable, and that she's uncomfortable, and he's trying to make it, like,
He's just
trying to just be like, listen, I'm not a bad guy, and I don't want you
Yeah.
to feel uncomfortable.
And, you know, he definitely thinks she's cute. Because they have kind of this weird chemistry, too.
Yeah.
She kind of declines at first, but then they start chatting up. And
They like a same movie. That's like a really obscure jazz movie.
This is when we learned why she's here. She's doing a job interview the next morning for a
film documentary.
She's gonna get to work with a director that she's a fan of. He's like, oh, any movies that I would have seen? She's like, oh, I don't know. There's this kind of indie film about jazz. And he's like, oh, I've seen that one.
And he literally talks about a scene from it.
Yeah. So
because at first I was like, he's fucking lying, and then he's like, no, like I have the scene, and he mentions
and he's like, honestly, if that's what you're doing for your next documentary, you should interview me because I'm the founder of this group.
That helps to like, I guess, flip and redevelop neighborhoods,
which is what they're doing.
He's like spawning out the neighborhood to be like, oh, is this like the next place we want to operate out of?
So it's kind of perfect. Like, what a coincidence, right? And they actually have a lot in common. They have chemistry. They're really cute together. They're very funny. They open up the wine and they ultimately share the wine bottle together and are just chatting on. It's like a first date, kind of like a meet cute kind of.
Yeah.
This is when it's like a rom-com.
Yeah.
This part of the movie is literally...
She booked an Airbnb. He booked her heart. Like,
right, that would be the tagline. That would so be the tagline. And they'd be like standing there like... in the poster, like, with big grins on their faces and, like, holding each other. That's, like, literally the Lifetime version of this movie. And this is when they talk about each other's love lives.
Yes.
Right? Asking if each other's single, all that jazz. Tess is like, oh, yeah, there's this guy that I've been talking to for a long time. And he's kind of, you know, the worst, but I just keep going back. So I don't know why I keep doing that. I gotta stop going back. And I think upon like rewatch of this movie, that line stood out to me because in this movie, Tess keeps going back. That's kind of her fatal flaw in this movie.
Yes.
So that's foreshadowing right there. And I think it informs a lot of her choices later. The fact that she can never just put something away, or she can never like move on from something. She always feels like she has to have closure and continue to address the situation. Then they get up on the subject of men versus women, which is basically the whole theme of this movie, like I said earlier. And she's like, if the roles were reversed tonight in this situation, I would not have let you come in. Like, if I was the one who got to the Airbnb first.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you can stay out there, and I keep my doors locked. And he's like, okay, listen, you know what? I understand. There's a lot of creepy dudes out there, so I get it. I mean, it sucks, but you're right. That's the reality.
Like, I can't be offended by it.
Mm-hmm. She's like, why is it always girls who get their hearts ripped out in these situations? And he goes, girls can rip. Trust me, girls can rip. Again, foreshadowing!
Ooh, yeah, because we see a girl rip.
Rip.
Absolutely rip.
Rip, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I just realized that might sound like we're saying she's farting.
That too?
Not ripping ass, okay?
Ripping, like, body parts off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe ripping ass too, though. I mean, you never know. Then this is when he helps her make the bed, and there's that moment where he's like, oh, let me show you how to fold the, like, fitted sheet. And he puts his arms up into it and kind of covers his head.
Yeah.
And he, like, kind of swings it off of him to flip it inside out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because you think he's gonna, I don't know, like, wrap her up in it or something. Like, and it's kind of like a fake out jump scare. But no, he just shows her how to do, like, a perfect fitting of a duvet. It was just like a little trick he was doing. But I like how this movie, again, continues to, like, kind of fake you out.
Trusted?
Can
he be trusted? Can
he be trusted? Then there's even a moment where they're like, after they, like, make the bed, they kind of look at each other kind of like, should we fuck? Or... and then it's like, no.
Well, no. we're not gonna,
but maybe tomorrow. Kind of.
we'll see where
We'll see where it goes. They go to bed. Tess does not lock her door, which I noticed. I was like, girl, you should lock the door. But anyway.
Yeah. Always lock the door.
That night, we hear the creaking sound of Tessa's door open. And then we hear like a weird sucking noise.
The delicious
Miss Mandarin.
Well, hi there. I'm the delicious Miss Mandarin.
It is very Chanel. And Tess sits up in bed. She's like, what the fuck? She doesn't see anything. She goes out. Keith is sleeping on the couch, but he's having a night terror.
He's
so
like sleep talking.
oh my God. Oh. And so it's kind of creepy. Like, what the fuck? Is he being weird? She goes up, tries to wake him up, and he jump scares her. Oh my God. Oh, you scared me. And she's like, I'm sorry. Did you open my door? And he's like, no, I didn't open your door. And she's like, well, sorry, my door kind of opened. I don't know. Maybe it's a weird door. So you were talking in your sleep, and I was just scared. I'm sorry. Oh, and she's like, oh, I totally embarrassed myself in front of this guy. Oh. She goes to bed, but behind her, we see the door that leads down to the basement closes on itself. The next morning, Keith has left her a cute little note, like, good luck on your job interview. I'll be back later.
Yeah.
P.S. Had fun last night. Now that it's sunny outside, it's very easy to tell.
The neighborhood is abandoned.
It is. It's really a shithole.
There's all the houses are just abandoned, run down, foreclosed. Just everything's overgrown. Like their house is the only one that's like upkept.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, damn.
This neighborhood, like Keith was right. This neighborhood does suck.
And this house is like.
It gave me very from Scary Movie 4 when it's like, this is Detroit. And then it's like...
This is Detroit after the attacks.
It's the same thing, but with aliens.
Take a look at this. Here's Detroit. And here's Detroit after the attack.
Her job interview goes super well. And the director lady clearly loves her, is going to hire her. She's like, yeah, I'll call you next morning. I'm excited. And then she's like, well, where are you staying? And Tessa's like, oh, I have this Airbnb in Brightmoor. And she's like, Brightmoor?
Oh, girl.
You should not be in that area. She's like, no, it's fine. And I have a roommate and he's a really nice guy and da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, okay, but you need, just be careful. Like, woman to woman, be careful, girl. And Tess goes back to the house and way in the distance, out of focus, there's this guy. We don't really see him, but it's a guy running towards her and being like, hey, little girl, come back here. Get back here.
Yeah.
And she's scared. And
I'm going to call him out on this. Why wouldn't you just be like, because he's trying to basically warn her about the house, but he never says, like, that house is dangerous. There's danger in that house. You need to get out of that house. You need to leave.
So I understand why she would be freaked out.
Yeah, he's just like, she runs in the house, gets in, locks the door, but he starts banging. He's like, you gotta get out of that house. Get out of that house. Get out of that house now. But he doesn't say, like, it's dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, what happened to hi? How are you? My name is. Like,
what happened to that?
What happened to that?
What happened to hello? How are you? My name is.
She calls the police and they tell her they have no available units at this time. I said typical. Ugh, of course. She goes down to the basement to get some toilet paper. And the basement door swings shut behind her and it is locked from the inside. Because it's kind of, the hinges on that door just must be installed in a way for it to just like close on itself after a while. It swings closed. So she is stranded in there and she doesn't have her phone. We see she left it upstairs.
Yep.
And while she's trying to kind of rig her way out, like she's taking things from the shelves to stack on top of each other, so because there's this high window in the basement.
Yeah.
And she's trying maybe see if she can climb out of there. And she notices there is a rope coming out of a hole in the wall. And she pulls on the rope.
And it opens this like stone door.
Secret door.
Yeah, it's like a secret
And
tunnel.
there is a dark hallway behind the door. And she goes, nope.
Which is like the first smart thing she does.
Yeah.
In this movie.
And
Because she is the smartest person in this movie.
She
makes some dumb choices, I will say that.
She makes decisions that
I would not make.
align with her character, though.
Yes.
Does it make sense in general? Not really, but does it make sense for that character? Yes. We'll get into it. She pulls the floor-length mirror, and she uses it to reflect the one light that's there, so she can shine the light into the hallway and kind of see it a little better. And she goes in, and she discovers a door off to the left. And it leads into, like, the creepiest room. It is a dirty mattress with a camera on a tripod pointed toward the mattress. There's a bloody, shitty bucket. There is a bloody handprint.
The room is disgusting and filthy, and she freaks the fuck out.
She's like, I need to get the fuck out of here. She hears, what's his name? Keith.
Like knocking on the door.
Pull up. So she starts banging on the basement window and is like, Keith, I'm down here.
Gives him the key through the window.
They're able to both together use their combined strength to open the window and get her out of there. And she's freaking out because that room was fucked. Like, It's very clearly a room where not very good things have gone down. And she's like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And Keith is like, well, I need to go see it for myself. I don't believe you, kind of. Like, you're overreacting. What do you mean? He's like, a bed and a bucket? That doesn't sound very scary. And she's like, no, trust me, you don't want to go down there. Please don't. And he's like, sorry, I'm not trying to, like, be a dick or da-da-da-da-da. Like, I just have to see it for myself. Yeah. Which is another thing that's a reoccurring theme in this movie. Yeah. Is that we're not taking what women say at face value. Yeah. That's a continuing theme. So he goes down and just kind of disappears. She's like, Keith,
do you see it? And he's like, yeah, I see it.
And she's like, okay.
Okay, let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Silence. He is radio silent. And she, against her better judgment, goes down. Oh, she takes the chair and uses it to prop the basement door so it won't swing closed again.
Because I got mad at her. I forgot. She goes down there and leaves the door, knowing that it's a girl.
It almost, locks her in again. But she, just nick of time, stops it from shutting on itself. Props it open with the chair. And she goes down to look for Keith. She keeps calling out for him. He continues to be silent. She goes in. That creepy room is empty.
He's gone.
She turns, and this is when she notices there is another secret door leading down some stairs into a spooky tunnel.
And she's like, oh, wait. And she's yells down before she even starts going. She's like, Keith! And she hears him
hear
yell
him
very faintly, far away.
He is far the fuck away.
He's like, Tess, help me, please. Oh my God, help me, please.
Against her better judgment, because Tess is, again, that kind of person. She always needs to go back. She can't just leave a situation.
Yeah, because
I'd be like, well, nice knowing you, Keith, at that point.
I just met you. I will go get the coffee.
I'll go get some help, but, I mean, what the fuck am I gonna do? But she continues forward, and there is a long hallway that she goes down. She passes by some big cages with, dog bowls with, nasty food in them. Yeah. And It looks like there were maybe people in those cages at one point. And she keeps going down. Big jump scare. It is Keith on his hands and knees, crawling into frame. Looking like first you think it's like a gremlin or something, but the camera comes into focus. And you can tell it's Keith. And he's running away from something. Freaked the fuck out. He tells her, there's something down here. And it bit me.
Yeah, there's someone else down here. We need to be quiet and we need to get the fuck out of here.
She's like, okay, well, let's go back the way we came. He says, no, we can't go back that way. Trust me. Come this way.
That's where she is. That's where she was.
That's where she was. Da-da-da-da-da. Boom.
She comes up behind them. Him. Like
we see the mother.
And she is screaming. She's like, whoa.
So
her titties are swinging in the wind.
They call her the mother on, like, Wikipedia. Like, this movie refers to her as the mother, I guess. In the credits. It's this old, fucked up lady. She looks like a gremlin. Like, I don't know. How would you describe the mother?
She's, Marjorie's Heather Green.
Oh my god. You're not fucking wrong, bitch.
Bleach blonde, bad built, butch
body.
body.
Hair, leathered skin, bitch.
Swinging titties like she is. But she's like 7 foot tall.
Crazy.
Her limbs are like crazy long.
She's got a fucked up kind of mouth and face, bitch. She is scary as fuck.
If
She is
ever
wild
played
as
Until
fuck.
Dawn, if you've ever played Until Dawn, she kind of looks like the monster from Until Dawn if she had weave and and
a couple thin tracks.
Like,
I wouldn't call it a weave.
It's like a season 2 Drag Race wig.
Yeah, with like 2 tracks in it.
2 strands of hair.
She screeches and she grabs Keith
by the head and just
bashes his
just
brains
keeps
in.
going with like him against the wall.
She cracks him open like a fucking watermelon, bitch.
And then she turns at Tess and
There's
screams.
another screech.
And then it just cuts.
And then it cuts.
And then we get fucking
Justin Long
singing Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Yes. Which, interestingly enough, I thought the reason why it was Ricky Tikki Tavi was because mongooses, like Ricky Tikki Tavi is a mongoose.
Yeah.
Mongooses bury into the ground and have like tunnels underground.
And they kill snakes.
And they kill, they kill.
And he's
other
just
things
singing
in the
along.
ground.
And it's that was like
Living
a
his
summer
life.
movie.
We're in Hollywood. We're literally on like Hollywood Boulevard, like in this red convertible with him just like vibing, listening to the radio. He gets a call from his agent.
And there's some bad news.
Oh, there's some real bad news. His co-star is claiming that he's been sexually aggressive towards her.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, he's saying that he completely SA'd her and they're gonna have to launch an investigation and he better kiss his acting career goodbye,
his
basically.
pilot is in the toilet.
He's like, what about my pilot? They're like, there's not gonna fucking be a pilot.
Dude, if it moves forward, you're not in it. You're fired.
All he cares about is his own side of the story, and he says, oh, that fucking bitch. So right off the bat, we don't like AJ.
Yeah, so then we kind of get this montage of AJ, like, going through. He goes to his financial agent.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, dude, you've got to get rid of your house here because you're spending so much. You're going to be broke in 3 months. And he's like, you have all these properties, like, in Michigan that you can liquidate, but like, they're not going to last you long either. And so this is where we learn Justin Long owns one of those properties.
I wonder which one.
And he happens to own the one that is where Miss Mother lives.
Yes.
Where the mother lives.
The mother.
The potential mother.
The potential mother.
And we get him traveling. Mm-hmm. It gets reported on the news, like on the Hollywood Reporter, like
and he's canceled on social media. His career's in the tank. He gets a call from his lawyer at that point telling him, oh, you're in Michigan? That's a big mistake.
Like, you should not be leaving.
You need to be
here.
here.
Like, I'm not being arrested. And he's like, you need to
big
get
possibility you could be. And he's like, well, what if I just call the girl and I think if I just talk to her myself, I could nip this thing in the bud.
And he's like,
Absolutely do not do that. You are not allowed to contact her. I'm your lawyer. I will contact her people for you. Especially since you keep calling her a fucking bitch every 2 seconds. Yeah. Maybe don't use that language when you're referring to her in the future. And he goes to the mother's house.
Well, first he goes to, like, the, like, place to pick up his keys. And we get this, like, cunty girl.
He's like, don't you recognize me? Kind of. And she's like, oh, what's your name again? Da-da-da-da. Oh, yeah, they said you were coming. And he's kind of, like, butthurt that she doesn't recognize him.
Which maybe it's a good thing right now.
Right, exactly.
But whatever, dude. And then he then goes to the house, and he's confused as fuck. Because he sees the chair still blocking the door. And to give everyone a time, according to Wikipedia, I don't know if the movie says it, but apparently it's been like 2 weeks.
It has been 2 weeks. They said the last people who checked in were 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's what the lady on the phone
because
says.
He notices all of their shit's still there. And he's like, is someone still here? He, like, calls the agency. They're like, no, nobody's checked in for 2 weeks. He's like, well, why is there all this stuff here? Like, wouldn't the maids have seen it? He's like, well, the maids don't come until it gets booked. No booking, no maid service. And he's
Which I thought was so dumb.
He agrees. Yeah. He says, that's a stupid system, don't you think?
Yeah, what if they, like, trash the place?
And she's like, is it trashed? He's like, that's not the fucking point.
He's like, no, Michelle.
No, Becky, that's not the fucking point.
That's not what I'm trying to say here. What kind of system is
and
that?
she's like, bye. And she just hangs up on him.
Yeah, he starts, like, bitching her the fuck out. Yeah. And she's like, you know what, sir, have a good day. Click. Yeah. He calls his mom. And his mom is like, well, why don't you come home to Detroit? Which is what he's already done.
Yeah, like, what do you want us to do? Like, what am I supposed to say? And, like...
He's like, I don't want to... I'm too busy right now. I'm probably just going to lay low, Mom. I'm not going to come home. Even though he's
and
come
she's
home
like, your
already.
Father wants to see you. We both want to see you. And she's like, did he say that? Or did you? She's like, well, you know how he is.
You know the dad is, like, ashamed or whatever. Hangs up on the phone with his mom, immediately calls his buddy, and hits him with the, what up, faggot?
It's so good.
Because, like, if you had any doubts about, like, oh, maybe AJ, like, is getting framed for something he didn't do, and da-da-da-da-da. No, he's a shit-ass person, and, like, he definitely was in the wrong.
Oh, well, we kind of learn it, because he decides to go out with his friend and drink. And his friend's like, yo, man to man, what happened?
What's the story?
And he's like, she took some convincing, but, like, you know...
Well, did she say no?
I mean, at
first.
But, like, you know how I am. I'm just so determined. Like, and it's like...
I'm Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, and it's like, ew.
Ew.
And then he gets back to the Airbnb. And he is on the phone trying to call her.
He leaves her a voicemail all drunk.
Like, I'm so sorry if I did anything that offended you.
If I offended you.
Or did anything that crossed the line. Like, I didn't mean to. Like, I do apologize. And if you call me back, I'll apologize again.
And, like, if you just forgive me, I'd appreciate it. Because, you know, I forgive you. Da-da-da-da-da. Not taking ownership for anything. We hate him. He investigates Tess's laptop. Tries to see if he can guess the password. Can't guess the password.
So he chucks it.
Throws it over his shoulder. I thought, oh my God. As someone who just broke a MacBook myself, I was like, oh my God. It made my heart hurt. Then he hears the basement door kind of creak. He arms himself with, like, a little, like, steak knife. Like, he doesn't go for, like, the big knife, which I thought was really funny. He goes down and he's like yelling. He's like, hey, anybody here? I'm a fucking man.
I have a gun. I'll come
fuck
down
you
there in
up,
30
man.
seconds and kill you.
I'll like bust a cap in you. Like, trying to be all hard. Down there. And then they're like, trying to act all hard.
Nothing happens. And then he decides to go down there and he finds the back room.
Yeah.
And his reaction is...
To Google, can underground tunnels be listed as square footage?
He's like, oh my God.
Oh my God. hard cut to him with a tape measure. He goes, jackpot. And starts like, he's
measuring.
He's kind of like,
because he learns you can't list it, but you can put it in the total, like, you can't list it as a separate,
the like special details.
In the special, he's like, oh fuck yes.
Oh shit. He's got his like butt sticking out. He's going in backwards using the tape measure to measure the square footage of this creepy ass tunnel system.
In the room. And then he discovers the tunnel.
And his dumbass just keeps going
like,
down.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Money moves. And he starts
like, bitch,
going
I make
down.
money moves.
He like sees the creepy cages and he goes, that's gross. Anyway, and like keeps moving on.
Yeah.
Then he finds a room that we haven't seen yet.
And it's just a mattress with a TV playing a Mommy and Me video.
Yeah.
It's got like a pink glow to it, the whole room. It's very like...
It's like this old, it's kind of 80s, 80s VHS of breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And something pulls on his tape measure and like whips it out of camera.
Yeah. And he's like, what the fuck?
And I know that there's a lot of cool fisheye lenses going on, which I think works for like the kind of claustrophobic feeling of being in the tunnel. I thought that was cool. Great moment with the flashlight going on and off as the mother appears.
Oh.
So it's
and
like
he's running because she is chasing him.
Starts fucking sprinting. He falls into a dungeon.
Yeah,
below.
like a cage.
And yeah, the cage door kind of like swings down over top of him, traps him in. And this is when we see Tess
is still alive. And she grabs him by the mouth and sings, shh, you don't want to piss her off.
She looks rough. You can tell her ass has been in this dungeon for 2 weeks, basically.
She's like, you don't want to piss her off. If you freak out,
she'll freak out.
You gotta stay calm. She's like, what do you mean she?
And then we cut. We cut back to the 80s, bitch. And we see the house, the exterior of the house in its original glory. It still looks cute.
The whole neighborhood
but now the neighborhood
is thriving.
Well, it's kind of like in Tim Burton movies, like Edward Scissorhands, like the perfect little like cookie cutter homes kind of thing.
Yes.
And
the perfect suburban house.
Perfect suburban home. This is before white flight happened in Detroit. So all these fucking hoity-toity white people, rich white people,
because the automobile business just really fell in Detroit, and so it's kind of was the downfall of Detroit and why it's now in the situation it is today. And it's been for decades. It's like very like. So if
I feel like if you're from Detroit and you're familiar with like the history of that city,
I don't know like
this movie
I know a bit. I don't know like the full details, but it's like
racism and gentrification played a lot into the destruction of that city as well. So, and also we hear about the Reagan administration on the radio and how he like flopped the whole economy basically. I mean, he did a lot of other shithouse things, but that's another podcast. This is when we meet the original owner of the house, Frank. Frank is a fucking creep. First of all, he's like 8 foot tall.
He's driving in his car and he's going to the grocery store or something.
The grocery store.
And starts picking up a bunch of baby products.
Mm-hmm.
And
diapers, baby wipes.
Asking a woman for some help. And she's like, oh, well, like, what all do you need? Did the midwife give you, like, a list? And he's like, no, it's just me. And she's like, oh, well, where are you having your baby? At the, like, local hospital? She's like says St. Vincent or something. And he's like, no, home birth. And she's like, oh, bless your heart. Like, so we're like, oh, okay, he's just, like, having a baby. He's just a weird dude with a wife.
You can tell she's trying to like reassure herself. Like, this isn't weird at all. Oh, and
she's
here's
like,
the VHS on how to nurse your baby.
And like how to take care of a newborn. And she gives him all the products he needs. And when he's
and that
leaving,
tape is the tape that plays in the one room.
Yes. Yeah. And then he leaves. And while he's leaving, he notices a woman across the street.
Yes, he does. She has red hair. She has like kind of a yellowy, flowery dress.
No, she has dark hair.
Does she have dark hair?
Yeah. Yeah, she has dark hair.
She has dark hair and like a yellow dress. And
Yeah,
he
like a florally print dress.
immediately starts to
follows.
stalk her.
He follows her to her house. And
It's
then
very Michael Myers, but instead of heavy breathing, he's chewing his gum a
Yeah.
lot. He's a
And then he
creepy
puts
gum chewer.
on this like,
Kind of a Michael
work
Myers mechanic suit, right? Yeah.
And he goes to her house and says he's like with DPS, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, there's just outages. I just want to make sure everything's good." She's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Sure.
She's like,
Bathroom's
"Go
right in there.
right upstairs." And he goes and he unlocks
Unlocks
the
her
window
window from
and
the
then just
inside.
leaves. And like the first time I watched this, I didn't fully understand this, but now like going back, I'm like, "Oh, I completely get this." And then he goes back to his house, and when he gets there, his neighbor. This is when we kind of get the detail.
This guy is very Ned Flanders.
Yeah, he's like,
I thought.
hey neighbor. He's like, you're gonna notice a sign in our front
Hate to
yard
disappoint
tomorrow.
you, but we're moving.
And he's like, oh, okay.
Neighborhood's going to shit.
He's like, you gonna be leaving? He's like, if we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave by this time next year. So
This is the
he's
white
like, you
flight.
leaving? And he's like, nope, I'm never leaving.
He said, I'm not going anywhere. Ooh, then he goes inside. And then
he
you
unlocks
see him
the
open the basement and he goes in and we hear
Screaming, like a woman screaming.
And this movie, I love that it does not give you
All the answers.
No, it lets you fill in the blanks with your
Because there's so
imagination.
many theories you could have with this movie.
Yes. I love movies like that.
So then we now go back to
Yep, cut back to Tess. She's in the dungeon with
Yep.
with AJ. And she says, "You need to be quiet or she'll hear you." And he's like, "Who?" The mother shows up! This is a potential
mother.
This is a potential mother.
Oh, mother.
And she
Oh my
pulls
God.
out a bottle and tries to get him.
It's got all of her nasty hair on like the nipple of it
yeah,
too.
tries to get him to drink from it.
Her titty milk.
and
It's her titty milk.
Tess is like, drink it.
Drink it. You need to drink it or she will freak out. He's like, oh no, all grossed out.
And then he gives it to Tess, and Tess is like, okay, yeah, here we go.
Tess drinks it to kind of show him, like, this is what you need to do.
She's
See,
like,
look, she's not freaking out.
She just wants a baby.
Can't you see? She just wants you to be her baby. She just wants to
And
be
he's
a
like-
mother.
And he's like, what?
And he is not
He will not take
not
it.
playing along.
And so she, Oh, baby doesn't want the nipple?
Yep. So we're
Okay.
gonna have to breastfeed. She
So she snatches him up,
takes
and
him to the TV room.
and she plays the Mommy and Me video.
And I like in the video, the woman in the tape runs her finger down the nose of her little baby.
Yep.
And the mother does that with her
too.
nasty ass claw
does
finger
it too. She
to
goes,
his nose.
"Brr."
And then she keeps calling him "Buh, buh, 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 buh."
And then she tries to breastfeed, and
She
Tess,
forcefully breastfeeds him, which I thought this was kind of like
this is what you did.
yeah.
And none of this is happening to you.
It's like SA coded a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of turning the tables back on him.
Yeah. And Tess takes this opportunity because she left the cage door open. She's like, let me get the fuck out of here.
And he also dropped his flashlight, so she now can see where she's
Yeah.
going. And she starts to sneak out of the tunnel, but she steps on the tape measure and makes a big noise.
And the mother hears it, and she's like, shit. So she starts
bolting out of
and
there.
the door locked on itself again, the basement door. So then she goes to the window and smashes
it with her
in.
hands. And there's a guy there. It's the guy that was kind
The
of
homeless
shouting at
guy.
her. He's this homeless guy. He's helping her.
He drags her out,
arms.
and just as
she
he gets her,
narrowly
the
misses
mother comes out the window, and
window.
she like goes back in because she doesn't like the sun.
Her nasty little like claw arms come out, and she kind of swipes at her but misses.
Yeah.
So she kind of slinks back into the darkness. And she tries to convince that homeless guy to help her go back down
Yeah.
and save AJ. There's someone down there. We need to help
He's
him.
like, he's dead. He's like, he's good as
We
well.
can't help him. He says you need to get out, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you take this chance. Once you go back in that house, you are not coming out. You are so lucky that
Yeah.
you got out. You just need to forget about this place
Yep.
and get out.
Out. Yeah.
But Tess has that, I always have to go back to a situation.
Yeah.
I can't leave any stone
So
unturned.
she's like, let me go find the cops.
So I need to go get help. Meanwhile, AJ tries to find his way out the tunnel, and he finds another door.
And as he's approaching the door, we see the mother. He flashes a light at her, and she
sees the door that he's standing in front of, and it scares her.
She backs away.
She's like,
And
"Oh, I'm not going there."
And we'll get into this. At least my theory on this.
Yeah, I like you were kind of showing.
I
me
think
before.
I think I cracked the code.
I think you cracked the motherfucking code.
I think I cracked the code. But anyways, he goes into the room, and it's just this kind of like bedroom.
It's a nasty, like, you know what it is? It's a literal man cave.
It's a man cave.
It's a literal man cave. There's trash all over the floor.
There's beer bottles.
It's in the middle of like a tunnel cave, kind of. And there's a TV that has all these VHSs. And he turns around, he sees there's a bed.
With an old man.
There's an old man. And we
And
see
it's
that it's Frank.
He's old, he's decrepit.
He is just nasty.
He can't talk. He can barely move.
And AJ starts assuming that this guy has also been taken prisoner by the mother.
Yeah.
So he's like,
we're gonna get you out of here.
And then he's like, well, I'm gonna get out of here. Kind of like, but I'll come back for you. Yeah, don't worry.
And then cops are gonna be here. They're gonna be swarming the
There's
place.
gonna be cops all up and down. And that's when you see that guy
Frank
kind of makes a face like...
He's like... So he starts beckoning towards like the end table, and AJ's like, I don't know what the fuck you want. So he just grabs the whole table and
pushes it towards him.
And then he looks at the tapes, and he plays the one that's in the VHS, and we
don't
all the
see
tapes
it.
are labeled like descriptions of women or women's names.
Ooh,
and he
it's
also
so
found on the chair is the dress that the woman wore.
Yellow dress.
That yellow floral dress that
was-
woman was wearing. So we
Hello.
now can
She
understand
was
what's...
kidnapped. Hello. He's a kidnapper.
He kidnaps
Hello.
these women...
Traps them in the basement.
Traps them and
Yeah.
assaults them in the basement and makes these videos of it.
And we don't ever see any of the video footage, but we hear
Here.
screaming, so...
And beating and...
Use your
it's
imagination.
Nasty.
Yeah.
And at this time, it then cuts back to Tess, who has now found... She went to a gas station, uses the phone to call the cops, and when the cops show up, they are just like, what the fuck?
They're
think
very assholey to
They think
her.
she's a crackhead.
Yeah.
And this is a very judgmental. They just take because of her appearance that she can't be taken seriously.
She's black, by the way. We forgot to
Yes.
mention the actress
And so,
is black.
and it's just in the Detroit area looking that way, there's this assumption that, oh, she's on drugs. She's crazy.
They're even like, ma'am, the only crime that I see here is that you broke somebody's window.
Because she doesn't have her ID or anything on her because it's all in the house.
All in there, yeah.
So they don't think she's like telling the truth.
And which again, not listening to women, that's a huge theme
They
in
don't
this
take
movie.
anything she says. She's like telling them, like, we just got to break down the door. Like, we got to get in there.
And they just leave. So she's like, okay, well, what do I do now? We cut back to AJ.
And he's like, what the fuck? You're a monster.
You're sick, dude. What is fucking wrong with you, man? The dude pulls a gun out of the end table and shoots himself in the face. Boom.
Yeah,
Because he knew that there were going to be cops coming.
Yeah.
He was going to get found out. So, yeah.
He was like, nope, I'm
Pretty
not going
bleak
in.
there. He takes his gun. AJ takes his gun.
Smart move.
Smart move. And leaves.
And then we just go back to the house, and we just hear a huge smash from a window, and Tess has broken the front window.
broken.
She goes in, grabs
She
her
has
car
to save
keys,
AJ.
and she gets into her car. And as soon as she turns it, the mother runs out the front door.
This diva.
And she's like, whoa! And Tess just
Floors him, bitch.
floors her into the
Pins
fucking
her like in between the car and the
house.
And the mother's like, what?
And then she just kind of, we assume, dies.
Yeah, she's like, and Tess goes
back.
in. She's going down. AJ in the darkness.
Like, because his light goes out. And Tess doesn't have a flashlight. And she kind of sees the light, like it's giving off a faint light. And she's just like, hello? And it scares him. And he shoots her.
Shoots. Tess.
And we
I
think
thought she died. I was so
Yeah, the
pissed.
first time I watched this, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But it's a good fake out because she lives, but she's in a shit ton of pain because she just got shot in the fucking gut.
Yeah. And he's like,
I'm so sorry. And this is one of the many asshole things he does to this girl.
Yeah.
He's such an asshole to her. And he doesn't even know her. And she came and risked her life to save him.
He's already kind of like putting the blame back on her too. He's like, you just scared me.
Yeah. He can't take responsibility for anything he's done.
No, yeah, exactly.
And so then they get out, and the homeless guy finds them again. He's like, you gotta come with me. Like, we're gonna go to my little hideout.
Take refuge by my, like, fire.
Like, she won't come bother us here.
He explains to them her backstory.
And it turns out this man, she has been living there for 40 years, he says.
Yeah.
And this man has been took women there and would have babies, and then have babies with the babies. And then that's how something like that got born.
Crazy inbreeding. And that's where the mother comes from. Yeah. And all she had to stimulate her mind was the TV that was playing the fucking nursing video. Yeah. So that she's like, okay.
So timeline-wise, I mean, he would have to been doing a lot of inbreeding for a long time.
Yeah.
That's where I get a little, I'm like, she's 40 years, but we flashed back to the 80s, which means she would have been born at that time, which means there would have been a lot of inbreeding at that time. But
I like your theory.
I think that, so like this inbreeding thing, yeah, we're going to get into my theory now, because I think that's the best time to plug it. I think he might have killed the women after they gave birth. There's maybe not, because of the amount of cages he had, and I forgot about that, so I was like, oh, maybe not. But I do think, so the mother wants a baby. I think by the time she was born and would have been able to have a child, he was no longer doing that, so she never got her baby. And so that's why she has this desire for a baby. And I think that's why she won't go to his room. It's not because she's afraid of him. It's just because she knows he doesn't want anything to do with me.
Oh. Okay. I think she's still afraid of him, too.
A little bit, yeah.
Because I'm sure he was fucked up to her.
Yeah.
Because that's why she's
maybe it's also she can't have a baby. You know what I mean? Because she's so inbred.
True. Or, yeah. I also think that...
So maybe, like, all of her babies died. You know, there's a lot
only... like glimpse of human interaction has been him doing these horrible, heinous things.
Yeah.
So she's obviously afraid of him, and she's also violent. She smashed,
which is where we get the title by Barbarian from, because barbarians are people who are not part of civilized society. And she is somebody who's not, and that's where I have such a sympathy for the mother character, because she is just a victim in all of this. It's like, obviously she kills people.
But she didn't know any better.
It's her view of society, and it's just...
And she's just
a product of... She's just a product of misery, of like... Just
she wants to be
of a horrible...
your mother.
But she's just a product of such a, like, evil, horrible thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just really sad.
Yeah. You can't hold anything against the mother.
They're like, well... And then AJ kind of starts to feel a little bad about the situation, and he starts to say, I've done a horrible thing, I'm a horrible person who did a horrible thing, and I hurt somebody. And you think he's talking about Tess, but he's really talking about... He's
reflecting on his whole situation. And then the dude says, well, don't worry, we're safe here. And he even says, shit, I lived here 15 years and she never came up in this motherfucker. And boom,
she burst through the wall. And she grabs him and rips his arm off.
This is what we meant when we would say she rips earlier.
She rips the homeless guy's arm off and then starts beating him to death.
With his disembodied arm. Oh my god, this was brutal.
Yeah.
I will say the violence in this movie. I'm surprised this movie you didn't have an issue with the body horror, because there's so much body horror. I know.
I think because it just goes quick.
It is very fast paced.
It's like, oh, okay, damn.
You almost don't have time to process it. Yeah.
I will say the one with the one guy getting killed, Keith. That is like that. I am like, ooh, that's.
There's another death coming up that also was like,
oh yeah, that one. I'm like, oh, okay.
Gross, gross.
Yeah. But it's also like, oh yes, he deserved it. Oops, spoiler.
Oops. The mother chases them up a fire escape to the top of this building.
It's a water tower.
Water tower, sorry.
They go to the top of a water tower.
AJ's just leaving Tess in the dirt.
And Tess is like,
with her
your
gunshot
gun,
wound.
You've got your gun, like, use your gun. And then he drops
Drop
it.
the gun!
And the mother's like chasing, and then he's like, she's gonna get us. He's like, but I can buy time. So he grabs Tess by the head, and he's like, this shot's really funny, because he's like, look it, I got your baby, and it cuts to the mother, and she has the most like, ooh. Look, she's like, oh my god, not my baby.
He flings Tess off of the water tower.
And this shot is amazing.
Swan dives in slow motion
It's so
off the water
good.
tower.
And we get her like titties.
No!
And then we see she caught Tess, and Tess landed on top of her. Somehow. She's like, and there's blood, and so we assume like, oh my god, they died.
Yeah.
And so AJ goes down, and you're like, shit, he survived.
Luckily, Tess is still
Alive.
hanging in there.
But now he's trying to pull this whole bullshit up.
Again.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I had to, but also, like, I didn't mean to. Like, you were slipping. Like,
you slipped.
Like, I wasn't trying to get, like...
Already trying
he's like, we gotta
to change
get you
the
out
narrative.
of here. And as soon as he gets Tess up, the mother wakes up. She is up, and she
jabs her
fingers
pointy ass thumbnails
into his eyes, and then rips his head open. It's so good.
I loved it. Because I love gore. I thought this was gnarly as fuck.
You're like, yes, he deserves that. He
yes,
deserved
yeah.
that.
Fuck
Because he's
AJ.
such a piece of shit character. You want, because like the other two characters that die, you're like, damn, I feel bad for them.
Damn, they were nice guys.
But him, it's like, finally, the douchebag who deserved it got what they fucking deserved.
You could argue he could be considered a true barbarian as well.
Yeah.
Because that's another meaning behind the title.
Yeah.
Is men act like barbarians.
Yes, just uncivilized. Like, there's a lot of depth to it.
Also, I just thought about this, Barbary Street.
Yeah.
So if you live on Barbary Street, you're a barbarian.
Yes.
So that title, the first time I watched this movie, I did not get that title. Now it makes complete sense.
There's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where I get very sad because the mom's like, okay, we're going to go back to the house now. And Tess, because she notices the gun wound that Tess has, and she freaks. The mother starts to tear up. She's like, oh,
it starts to, like,
pick her up. And every time she does,
Tess
just starts agonizingly pain. Like, I can't go. She's like, I can't make it. I can't make it. And the mother's like,
and Tess does not want to fucking go back either.
Yeah. She says, this is Tess being smart.
Yeah.
Tess is really playing it up, I think, at this point.
I think so, too.
And she grabs the gun that happened to land right there, and she puts it to the mother's face.
The mother who doesn't even probably know what a gun is.
Yeah.
So isn't even reacting.
She's not like, oh my god.
She's just like... Burr, 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 burr.
And she kisses her finger, and then kisses it onto...
like,
nose,
right?
and does what, like, it is in the video. And it's like...
Mother!
And she goes, baby. Baby.
This is so sad.
And then she shoots the mother. And we get this then last shot of Tess walking away into the sunrise.
Mm-hmm. Barely alive, but she's a survivor.
She survived.
She's a survivor.
We're assuming she's probably gonna go back to the house, get her shit, and then
it plays that song, Be My Little Baby. Be my baby. And I thought that was camped in the song.
This is
in the movie on that.
Very fun movie. I think it's very well paced. The beginning, I will say, rewatching it this time, the beginning's a little slow. But
that's because it's tricking the audience the first time into thinking that it's like a rom-com.
So I will say on a rewatch, it felt slow. The first time I watched it, it didn't feel slow. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Because it's not a long movie. It's I will say, hour 42.
Yeah.
Or 102 minutes. Yeah, so an hour 42.
No,
great length movie.
I still think, for me, it didn't feel slow the first half. I still feel like it was well
No, just the first, basically until she discovers the basement. Mm-hmm. I think that first chunk I was like, okay, just on the rewatch. The first time I watch it, it's not, but when you know that he's not.
Sure. I think that's totally fair. I think overall, though, this movie moves really fast.
Yeah.
So fun.
Especially the ending. I think they're like, oh, yeah, here's the final points of it, and we're just going to go with it.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
And like you really said, you really fall in love with this villain. She was not a barbarian, okay?
She's fun.
She was mother.
She's not Conan. She's not a barbarian. She's not Roman.
I'm Roman. I'm a barbarian. I'm Conan.
I'm Roman. I'm a barbarian. I'm Conan.
But yeah, love the mother. Love this movie. And next week, we are going to start a new series.
Wait, which one are we getting? What's the new series?
Jordan Peele June, bitch.
Jordan Peele June. Jordan Peele June.
Y'all who've been requesting Jordan Peele movies, guess what? Jordan Peele is my favorite, like, contemporary director. So I want to do all 3 of his motherfucking movies because I think they're all good as fuck.
Hell yeah.
So we're going to go in chronological order. And we might have a special guest or 2. And we are going to start with Get Out.
Get Out. Yes.
How about you get the fuck out? That's going to be us next week.
How about you get the fuck out?
How about you get the fuck out?
So get ready. Watch all those Jordan Peele movies. And then join us for a little Jordan Peele June. Baby.
Who's ready?
I'm fucking ready.
You're ready to peel,
scream.
girl.
Ready to peel. I'm ready to peel.
Okay, everyone. Yes. Well, we hope you had a lovely time with us.
At what's the address?
478?
478 Barbary?
Barbary?
Where's my notes?
Barbary?
476 Barbary Street.
476.
And
Barbary
learning all about the potential mother. R.I.P. Diva Down.
Diva Down. Diva Down. And
she
you know
was a
what?
real one.
You know what? Say what you want about her as a person, her politics, her views. Marjorie Taylor Greene ate as the potential mother. She did a knockout job.
I think the mother is way cuter.
She's so much prettier. I would vibe with her dream blunt rotation. Potential mother.
Yes, I would absolutely be down to smoke blunt. Hell yeah. So you can make sure to follow the podcast.
Like the pod. Leave a glowing review
Please
of
leave
the pod.
a review.
Please.
And share.
Interact with us, y'all.
It's at Let's Scream Pod on Instagram. It is Let's Scream Pod on YouTube, I believe. Or it might just be Let's Scream. I don't know. But either one of those. Just look it up, bitch. And also you can send us requests for future episodes as far as movies we'll cover. You can also follow me at Parker_Will_C on Insta.
And you can follow me at Stevie Nash95 on Instagram.
Yes, until next time, this has been
Let's Scream. Bye.